sound? Try now. I'm going to try again. Welcome. Everyone's now scared stiff in the space, so I'm going to shout even louder. Good morning and welcome to our KLH worship here where we are broadcasting from Hemel Hempstead Methodist Church. And this morning is, we're having our Christmas services today. And I'm sure, as you've already realized, unfortunately, thanks to yet another change in the way that the rules about the various different lockdowns have happened, we are now in Tier 4, which means, apart from anything else, we'll be moving every service after today. We'll be going entirely online. So this is our day to do our Christmas services. And the first part of that service, so having announced all that, the first part of the service and the bit that I've been looking forward to all year is that I get to do the Nativity. Just quickly, and because of course we're all supposed to be distanced, I'm pretty much going to do the Nativity by myself up here. Also, by special request by a number of people, the Brussels sprout shirt is on. Okay, I am wearing Brussels sprouts this morning. I would just like to point out that is the nearest I'm going to a Brussels sprout until at least next March. I've got to have one. I have to have one Brussels sprout on Christmas Day. Pray for me, brothers and sisters. I will have to have my Brussels sprout on Brussels sprout day. Oh dear. Anyway, do you know, it actually has made me go quite shuddery thinking about them. So I'm wearing this because of the special Christmas event. Later on, there will be the carol service at 3 o'clock, am I right? The carol service at 3 o'clock, which will also be broadcast from here. So, the Nativity story. I hope you're all sitting comfortably. I'm going to try and tell it. I'm going to ask for Andrew's help as we go along. But I wanted you to think about the Nativity story a little differently this morning. You see, quite often, what's our picture of the nativity scene? Imagine we've got the traditional nativity up here at the front of the church. We've got our little barn, haven't we? We usually have the barn, and in the middle of the barn there is the baby Jesus in a manger, Mary, Joseph, some shepherds, some wise men, and they're all in there. Usually some cattle, some sheep, and also if you go by the nativity that I saw from my wife's school, from Ruth's school, they had lions, leopards, giraffes, penguins. You know, I am hoping for the sake of the baby Jesus' safety that there will be no lions in our nativity this morning. But when we picture the scene, and as we picture the nativity, it's a beautiful silent night, isn't it? It's that peaceful thing there, and especially the ones on the Christmas cards, you know, a little bit of glitter around, and there's a star up in the sky. Well, of course, there's the star that they followed, and everything is peaceful. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm thinking that might have been the one peaceful moment in an otherwise absolutely chaotic period of time. Just picture how the story might really have gone. Now, I'm going to try and elicit some props here. One thing I've got here, for instance, is when I talk about angels, all right, I've got my halo to be an angel, okay? And also, it made me think, imagine that moment in the journey when Mary receives the message from an angel, because that's kind of where the story starts, isn't it? We've got Mary, and she gets a message from an angel. And what on earth must have that been like? I was trying to think of it in, like, we talk about it being the greatest story ever told. Well, the way that we tell it, where everybody sits quietly in a barn together, you know, and the cattle are lowing, I think. I mean, that's not the greatest story ever told. But what if the story starts a bit like the film Close Encounters. Do you remember that from like the 1980s? And the aliens are landing, and the sky is lighting up, and the lights are flashing on the spaceship, and you go, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, flashbacks there. Boom, 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 boom. The sky lights up, and the angel appears and says, Mary, you are going to have a baby. And it's on that sort of epic proportion that you get the story. Oh, I should have put my Mary scarf on at this point. I have a scarf here for Mary, because we tend to traditionally picture Mary in blue. This is my best scarf for today. So there's my Mary scarf. And there's Mary, and over there is the angel, and the sky has lit up. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, somewhere in the East, a lot of very powerful people have been reading the scriptures. I'm going to be a wise man now. Let's have a wise man scarf. I wear scarves all the time. So these are just my normal scarves, but I thought they might work for some of the characters. So I'm going to have a wise man scarf. So this one will be the wise man. And you imagine that they've been poring over the scriptures, and they've been trying to read into it what on earth is going to happen next. They know that a great event is coming. And I sort of began to imagine it, and the debate that they must have been having. All these magi, these wise people, and they're meeting together, and they're having these conversations about exactly where it would be. Scholars saying, oh, well, it's going to be here, and the sign is going to be a star, and the prophets have written this, and they've written that. And I'm sure that somewhere there was probably a sort of a prime minister character standing there saying, no, there will be no babies born in Bethlehem this Christmas, unfortunately. And the wise men are saying, to themselves, well, that can't be possible. The signs are all there. There is the journey, and it's going to be over a place. To impersonate the Prime Minister. That was the thought police cut me off. So, so you've got those wise men there, and they know that there is something coming. They know there's this great event is coming. You know, it's a bit like watching the evening news and kind of saying, and experts are saying that this event is going to happen in the future. And now we go live to Bethlehem, where we see, and so on and so forth. But there's a whole other story that's going on in there as well, because not only have you got Mary, I thought I'd get a plain one for Joseph. There we go. So I'm just going to be Joseph for a minute. I want you to imagine for a minute that we've got Joseph there, and Mary has come back from having the news that she's going to have a baby. I don't know, I was trying to do the theme tune to like a soap opera earlier, and the only one I could come up with was bum ba bum ba bum ba bum bum ba bum ba bum bum, which I think is The Archers, isn't it? Yeah. I was trying to remember how EastEnders went, but I can't remember how the tune goes. But if you imagine that there's a whole aspect of this story that's entirely a soap opera. Oh, have we got EastEnders? Excellent. Super. Okay, well, there's our theme to EastEnders. That's good, because I can do the London accent now, a bit easier. So Mary's just received the message from the angel and comes back to see Joseph. And as Mary comes back, she's saying, Joseph, I've got to tell you, I've got news, mate. There's a baby. I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby. And Joseph's like, what baby? How can you be pregnant? And then he storms off. There's a whole drama going on there, a whole soap opera drama. And then Joseph goes away and he has a dream, and he gets this vision that he is going to look after Mary, and that it's God's son that Mary is carrying. So that's a sort of a soap opera aspect, isn't it? So so far we've got the supernatural, we've got Close Encounters, we've got soap operas, we've got the 10 o'clock news. You can see now how it's building up to being a much bigger story. And a much more exciting story than some little quiet barn. Okay, so what happens then? What's next? Well, Mary and Joseph have to go on a journey to get to Bethlehem. Now, we know that other journeys must have already been taking place by then. The Magi must have already been en route as well. So we've got wise men en route, and we've got Mary and Joseph setting out to go to Bethlehem. Well, it must have been a huge love story, mustn't it? It must have been. Did you see the cue there? That was clever, wasn't it? Sorry? Oh, Mission Impossible's coming. We'll do that in a minute. Yeah, we'll do Mission Impossible in a minute. Yeah, we're going to have Mission Impossible in a second. I will let Andrew play something in a second. So we have a love story going on because ultimately Joseph stayed with Mary even though to most of the people around it must have looked like she'd done something terribly wrong. So they head off on their journey. Sometimes we add a donkey, don't we, into the story. We throw in, I don't have a donkey costume here this morning. But we have this journey, and as they set off, you've got to imagine the love and the commitment they must have had to each other to be willing to go back to their hometown under all the problems of being the census and all the rules that were being imposed. We get some sense of that this year, don't we? My goodness, the government has told us we have to do this or we have to do that, and they had to go to Bethlehem for the Roman census. So I just want you to picture this scene. Do you think we can have a bit of love story just for a moment? Let's hear the tune. I'm sure that you've got the picture there of them traveling along together. But we know there's another part to this story, don't we? Because the other bit that we love at Christmas, and I'm sure that you've all done this at some point in your childhoods, and I know that some schools, Ruth was telling us before the service started, that when they do the Nativity, she had to go to IKEA and buy a lot of tea towels. The tea towel nativity. Well, this is the scarf nativity, really, on the rest of it. But we have some shepherds. I don't know what we can dress the shepherds in. I'm running out of. There we go. We'll have this one. We've got some shepherds, and we'll put some shepherds in the field. Okay. Oh yes, Andrew can be the sheep as well. There we go. So we've got some shepherds in the field trying to keep themselves warm and protecting us. I would personally have put like a little bit of a comic story in here. I think it's quite a fun one. But actually, it starts with the same problem that Mary had, doesn't it? It doesn't start as a little comic story of shepherds in a field. It starts with the Close Encounters thing again, doesn't it? You know, do, 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 do. And there's the angel Gabriel. I'm just going to put the angel up there. And the frightened shepherds in the field going, oh no, you know, what's this? What on earth's happening? And then this message. And those of you who saw the epic performance in the Messy Church thing as the shepherds went off and said, well, what are we going to do now? Well, we better go and see the baby. So we start with that journey, don't we, of Mary and Joseph are en route. The shepherds are en route. Then we've got, microphones come off again. So we've got the shepherds en route. We've got you can see where this is going, can't you? This is where I end up tied in scarves and falling on the floor. And then we've got the wise men who are en route. But there's somebody else in the story as well, which is, of course, that Herod, who wants to get rid of the new king and wants to get rid of Jesus. And we've got Herod, who is wearing gold, a bit like Donald Trump. There we go. Oh, no, better not say that. There we are. More politics for the morning. So there we go. And we've got Herod dressed in gold. And so what have we got? Oh, this is echoing a bit. Sorry about that. What have we got? We've got Mary and Joseph on a journey. Wise men on a journey who have whoever thought this was a good idea? Wise men on a journey, and the shepherds on a journey, and they're all heading, and they've all got to arrive at the same place. Plus, the wise men have got to sneak past Herod, haven't they? Because they've got to sneak through and avoid, so they have to talk to Herod, but then they sneak out another way so that they don't get caught. So the wise men are sneaking in. It is a bit like, here's the big moment, we're now going to have it, it's a bit like Mission Impossible with all the journeys coming together. I'm exhausted now, picturing, that was the donkey. They're riding the donkey. I don't know. The actions have all gone horrifically wrong now. So you have those three journeys all coming together, and they are dodging Herod, and they want to get to where the star. And of course, that's the next aspect of the story, isn't it? This is more like cosmology. I was reading the other day that there were various different genuine cosmological events that happened at that time that would have placed stars above the town of Bethlehem. There would have been comets and various different things that could have explained why there was a star. But we know that they were following the star. That surely Mary and Joseph must have been aware. They must have come out when they were, there of an evening in their little soap opera, looking out in the sky, saying, "Crikey, Joseph, take a look at that. What is it? I don't know, it's this dirty great star and it's coming this way. Do you think it means something? Don't know, dear, put the kettle on." And then there's another soap opera, isn't there, going on, which is, I think I have actually, I'll use this one. I haven't used this one yet. There's also an innkeeper in all of this, isn't there? And we've got the innkeeper who's saying, "Sorry, love, there's no room. We ain't got, I'll tell you what, it's more than my job's worth to have you in here. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what. Not for 10 quid, not for 5 quid, £2.50. You can have a space in the stable down the back. All right? Stable's available. I can tell you it's been nicely cleaned. Well, we had the Romans through. You know what it's like. You have to sanitize everything, don't you? Anyway, there we go. We've cleaned out the stable. You can use that." And Mary and Joseph saying, "Thank goodness we've got somewhere to go." And if you think it doesn't sound like a soap opera enough yet, just picture for a minute, those of you who are mums and dads and things out there, just picture for a moment what kind of a drama it was for a young mum to be delivering a baby in a stable anyway. Let alone the fact that they couldn't get into a stable in the first place. They're going into a stable, they're delivering a child. Even if it wasn't God's son, even if it wasn't the Messiah, we've still got the drama of a birth. Anyone who's watched The Vicar of Dibley will know the drama of delivering a baby in a stable. It's very dramatic. And the baby has arrived or is arriving, and it's that first Christmas morning. And we've still not got our peaceful scene, haven't we? Because there we are in the stable, and what's happening? Well, the baby has been born. We don't know exactly where the timings happen, but we know that at some point the shepherds end up turning up. Presumably the innkeeper is aware that there is a baby being born in his stable at the back of the house. And you've got the shepherds have turned up. Now, I know in our traditional view, when we have our shepherds, one of our traditional things, isn't it, is that the shepherd turns up with a sheep to give as a gift. Yeah, thank you. Just picture for a minute. Just picture. I know we're all having disasters about what Christmas is going to look like, and I know it's all got topsy-turvy. But just picture for a moment, if on Christmas morning you've got your plans. The gravy's already brewing away because it needs to be boiled for 7 hours or whatever it is that takes forever on a Christmas morning. I'm not a very good cook. And as we're preparing for Christmas, someone turns up and says, I've brought you a present. Oh, it'd be even better in this day and age. It would have to be UPS, wouldn't it? Oh, sorry, I'm advertising now. It would have to be a delivery company. Other delivery companies are available. Bethlehem Transport or whatever it is turns up at your door, white van, chap steps out the back and says, here's your sheep, mate. What? What, I brought you a sheep? Well, I don't know what to do with a sheep. I haven't got much of a garden. Well, it's all right. I'm sure you can find a bit of land. That church has got a bit of patch of grass out the back. So we get this. So we get the delivery maybe of the shepherds. Maybe they're bringing gifts. We like to think they brought sheep. Then at some point, of course, and we don't know exactly when, but we know that the wise men turn up. And what gifts do they bring? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now, I'm not going to pretend I wouldn't be pleased to see the gold. Someone turned up and said, here, gold brick. I don't know what form it came in, but a gold brick, absolutely wonderful. Hang on, I need to be the wise men for this, don't we? We're getting to the end of this, I promise. Okay, so we get the wise men and the wise people, of course, because again, we don't necessarily know. So the Magi turn up and they bring their gifts as well. So it's still not a quiet stable, is it? We've had shepherds in. I can bet you they trampled on everything when they came in. They brought a sheep. Then you get these bigwigs turn up, these powerful people. And presumably they didn't turn up on their own. They would have been part of an entourage. So you've got half a dozen camels parked outside the stable. You've got people all over the place. Announcements. Probably we're back to the 10 o'clock news with people saying, here in Bethlehem today, surprising events, as 3 of the most powerful people in the world have turned up outside a stable in Bethlehem. We go live to the stable. Yes, it's absolute mayhem here, ladies and gentlemen, because as you can see, a crowd has gathered outside believing that there is here the birth of a Messiah. Of course, we've had several pretend or fake messiahs before, but apparently this is the real one. And the mayhem around there that there could have been with these powerful people turning up. Just think about something happening like it would here now. Imagine what would happen if today somebody really powerful turned up here at the church for this Sunday morning service or whatever. They wouldn't turn up on their own. Even if it was the local mayor, they'd probably turn up in a limousine with 3 or 4 other people. If it was, I don't know, who's the most famous person we can think of at the moment? Somebody really cool. I don't know. Sorry? Chris Whitty. Are we getting politics in again? This is terrible. We're going to get pulled off the air. Somebody really famous turns up here. We might even have security guards by the door. There'd be people around. There'd be paparazzi standing outside the windows with their cameras peered against the glass. Chaos, mayhem. And in amongst all of that, we hear in the Bible this wonderful moment where Mary says, I'm going to go back to being Mary now just to finish the story off. Thank goodness for that. Here we go. So, we go back to being Mary. And Mary's sitting there. And around her, there's all mayhem happening. And what we do know, one of the facts we know from the story is that Mary later reflected and sat there quietly, remembering all of the things that had happened. And then that moment finally comes. After all the chaos and all the mayhem and all the journeys and all the Mission Impossible and the love story and EastEnders and the Archers. I think actually the shepherds should have been the Archers, shouldn't they? It's now we've got the agricultural story editor who's going to tell us what kind of sheep the shepherds would actually have had. Well, of course, on the mountains in those days. Anyway, I'm going to get carried away. With all of that happening, we finally get to that moment where Mary quietly gets to sit and reflect and look at what has actually happened, which is nothing more complicated than the birth of a baby. And it's her baby, and she's sitting there holding that baby. And that's finally, we get to that scene with the barn, the baby, maybe the shepherds, maybe the wise men have finally shut up, and they are there together, and we get our tranquil scene, and the star is up above, and it's our silent night and that beautiful moment. See? It is, isn't it? It's the greatest story ever told. I think it's just an amazing thing that we get to have that story as the beginning, as it were, of our Christian journey. So I'm done with my story. Very shortly, I'm going to hand over to our worship leader, and I've got a Jenny coming up. So
I want Ruth to come up as well, please.
Come on,
First
dear.
of all, I want to say that the stream of comments on Facebook of appreciation of your renditioning of the Nativity, you have been likened to Tommy Cooper a few times this morning. But I just want to do what you would normally do, which is to greet everybody who is watching from home. Too many people to welcome by name as we normally do. But I've hijacked just for a moment to say, Andrew and Ruth, as a church here at Hemel Hempstead Methodist Church, we are so appreciative of all that you have done, particularly this last year. And it's been a very trying year. And Ruth, I know you've come a little bit out from the shadows to be a lead singer and pianist for the services. And we really, really do appreciate that. And it's not very glamorously presented, but there's something there for you to, when all this madness is over, perhaps to do something special together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now perhaps you'd like to just quickly speak.
Well, I didn't expect that, and after that performance as Tommy Cooper, I think I probably don't deserve it. But thank you, and can I just say to everyone out there in our various congregations, whether that be the online congregation, Kings Langley, Lay Hill, and here, it has been, yes, a very strange year. But it has also been a very beautiful year and a very exciting year, and I've been incredibly impressed with everything that the church has done, and I'm very grateful to everyone who supported us on our crazy journey coming here, and I'm looking forward to what happens, because the next bit is the exciting bit, isn't it? The next bit is called afterwards. And afterwards is coming. I mean, yes, maybe we've got a terrible time maybe at Christmas, or maybe it's too complicated for the next few weeks. But hope is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Andrew. You can play us into worship now because we've only got a minute left. But thank you ever so much. And I'll take my toys away.